Hello friends, I am back with another article. Today's article, it is written by Kanti Vajpayee. He was comparing the geopolitical economic situation of India in 2026 and the then back was in 1991. Let's start with 1991. It was a critical phase in Indian socio-political and economic development. The reason behind it, as India was a closed economy and there were 1990 and 91 Gulf War due to which the India's socio-political economic system was disrupted, impacted. The very point of his in the article was that how US pressurized India on nuclear proliferation program, how US US pressurized India on human rights, US pressurized India on the nuclear proliferation. Apart from it, as India was a closed economy, US US was not able to trade with India with an open market. It was the then economic situation of India, due to which India had to take IMF loan, had to deliver the gold shipments, gold shipments to the country like UK, Japan, and Switzerland to tackle the economic crisis. At that time, in the article, at that time, Kanti Vajpayee compared the economic situation of India with the China. China was growing with the rate of 9% and since 1979, and it is about of 12 years. After the 12 years, in the Chinese economy was stood at $370 billion. At that time, India was upgrading its economy at the average rate of 5% and stood at $270 billion in 1991. There was a gap of around $100 billion between India and China. It was not it was not so big, it was not so different, it is not so much differentiated economy. Third, he mentioned about the Pakistan, how Pakistan uh, how Pakistan helped US in order to uh, in order to extricate Soviet Union from the Afghanistan. India was facing the security crisis as well, where the Soviet Union was collapsed in 1991, due to which two things happened. One, the security crisis, when the security threats, or you can say security challenge with the India, and second, the political system of Soviet Union was disrupted, was demeaned due to the collapse. Now, comparing with the situation of contemporary time, 2026, it is more or less like the situation in 1991, but in different manner. Let's discuss about that. The first thing, as of then, in now times in 2026, US again pressurizes India on the India on the Russian oil imports, on the topic of trade labor, and on massively on the topic of on the in the sector of India's export to others. US try to respond India as a transactional country, not as a partner. It is a question. It is a more or less like a question on the sovereignty of India, how it will be treated on the how it will going to treat on the international stages. Apart from it, again comparing the situation with economic situation with China, China stand at $20 trillion, the second largest economy in the world, with average economic growth rate of 3%. In the other side, India is at 4 trillion economy with an average GDP growth rate of 6%. While calculating, you can figure out easily that in 2050, the Chinese economy will grown up to $40 trillion, whereas with this rate, India will reach to 16 trillion economy, 16 trillion dollar economy. The gap I want to state that, as he asserted, the gap will be increased. Today's gap is, you can calculate, 16 trillion dollar, but in 2050 the gap will increase to 24 trillion dollar. Pakistan as intermediary between US and Iran in order to solve resolve the US Iran war. Apart from it, you can the writer explained about four C's where India must have to work very hard in its domestic economy. The four C's stand for four different sectors. The first one is commerce, especially the manufacturing. The second C is computer chips, the semiconductor chips. The third one is computer software and infrastructure of AI. The fourth one is critical rare earth minerals. Manufacturing manufacturing in India is more or less like in stagnant position, because after the encouragement of 30 years it is being stagnant. The second one, computer software and AI. There is less investment in the field of research in the sector of artificial intelligence. The third one is the semiconductor chips or computer chips. India is not capable enough. It is indigenously likely to impossible to produce computer chips, semiconductor chips by without any partnership from the country like from the country like we know from the country like Australia and Taiwan. Besides the rare earth metals, India has the critical rare earth metals, but not the sufficient processing infrastructure. Niti Aayog estimated that by the year of till the year 2035, India will be dependent on the foreign imports at the range of 90 to 95%. Now the writer also had given some solution for these challenges. Geopolitically, to tackle such threats or such economic challenges, it is very much important to focus on domestic production, on the domestic economic system. In order to improve the four C's, that is the commerce and manufacturing, the computer chips, the computer software and AI infrastructure, critical rare earth metals. India has to work upon these four C's, make a robust, effective, efficient economic system that is more feasible in the contemporary economic system of India. The second one, which is more or less like, people may agree or disagree, but he suggested that as the China did with US in 1972, India must repeat those principles. It was like more and more investment from US to China, and then imitating their practices, understanding their work culture, understanding their functioning, the SOPs, how the ecosystem works in an wholesome integrated manner. Then the other thing, is India and can replicate those ideas, replicate those ideas and use the principle of hide and bide strategy. That is it. Thank you for